The way we communicate is another huge physiological difference. Men communicate with logic, one side of their brain, point A to point B, whereas women communicate using both sides of their brain. So we use creative and logic. We actually use, I think it's about 8,000 words more a day than men. So how we communicate and how we want to be communicated with is vastly different.
You're listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Benjamin Del Grosso gives you the ins and outs of one of the most underlooked aspects in business today. Improve your customer service and watch your business skyrocket. 2, 1. Now, here's your host, Benjamin Del Grosso.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have Katie Maris. Katie began her customer experience journey in 2007 and never looked back. She used her passion for creating experiences and to jumpstart a career focused on helping organizations create memorable and measurable customer experiences. Katie has navigated various industries, studied from the best, and made it her mission to become a brand experience expert. As a female entrepreneur, mom, daughter, and sister, Katie saw a need to captivate the world's most influential consumer, the woman. Katie is now the go-to expert in tailoring experiences to the decision maker, the woman. She also is launching her new book today, The CustomHER Experience, correct?
Correct, yes.
So, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So, so let's get right into it. So, why should businesses focus on the female consumer?
Well, she is the most rated consumer and consumer segment to increase businesses' top line and revenue. She influences 86% of all household purchases. And she is the decision maker, influencing $43 trillion of worldwide spending. And so if you're not looking at creating an experience for her, then you're really missing out on increased sales, loyalty, and referrals.
Yeah, I know we were talking off camera, and I was telling you that quite a few years ago when I would get certain not specifications, but I guess charts or graphs or whatever of what was going on in the world. And what I was being told, what I was hearing was 55% of major purchases, which is like, big vehicles, homes, stuff like that, were being influenced by the women and 45% by men, which was a big shift. Because I remember early on when I was working for someone in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was like 75% male and like 25% female. So it's quite a huge shift in the way the world is conducting business nowadays.
For sure. Women are owning businesses and starting more businesses at a faster rate than men, actually. And so currently right now, women own worldwide just over 8 million businesses. And they're contributing to the world's economy at $1.4 trillion annually. So it is a big shift. Women are making more money, and with money comes power and decision making. And so now that they've got that sort of path laid in front of them, they're not afraid to raise their hand and say, this is what I want.
Nice. So you have your new book that just launched today.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what your book entails?
For sure. So CustomHER Experience, it really outlines the importance of developing a brand experience that is elevated and captures the heart and mind and pocketbook of the female consumer. It is not just a book on because I'm a woman and I think that we deserve all this attention, or I think we're just that great. It's a book based off of science and facts. So I've studied the physiological differences between men and women. And so what I'm trying to do is get women to understand men and men to understand women so that we can start working together to create a great work culture and a great experience for the female consumers. So even though there's a ton of stories in there and my experiences in there, and it's a fun read, but there's a lot of science and facts that back it up, research that backs up every point that I make.
Nice. So how are women and men different? Because I imagine you probably talk about that in the book as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, where do I start? So physiologically, I mean, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That is a very, very true
That's
statement.
an old school book, I think, isn't
It
it?
is, but it is a true statement. Physiologically, we're just built differently. We are, our brains are different. For example, your limbic brain, and the limbic brain is the emotional and memory hub of our brain. A woman has a much larger and deeper limbic brain than a man, and it's almost about double the size, which means we feel greater, we remember more, and so how she feels about the experience you provide her is what dictates her purchasing patterns, her loyalty, her referrals, much greater than a man. The way we communicate is another huge physiological difference. Men communicate with logic, one side of their brain, point A to point B, whereas women communicate using both sides of their brain. So we use creative and logic. We actually use, I think it's about 8,000 words more a day than men. So how we communicate and how we want to be communicated with is vastly different.
That's interesting to me, that they're using that many more words a day. I'm kind of curious. I don't know, like with this, the way the world's changing now, because like a lot of people aren't, talking on the phone or getting together for coffee anymore. They're just kind of like, texting each other and stuff like that. So maybe this is like a total curveball question, but does that mean like maybe women are probably even texting more than men
They
as
are. So
well?
they spend 30% more time online socially than men do. So they are texting more. They are leaving more reviews in greater detail. I don't know if you ever look at like how a man to a man will text, and then if you look at like a husband and wife, or you look at a friend, a male friend to a female friend, the female will express herself and her text will be far longer than a man, and it will be men are usually like, okay, got it, stay tuned, where a woman will explain the whole story and have a paragraph sent off to you. So yes, we text more, we browse online more, we leave more reviews, and we do it in very deep and grave detail.
Yeah, some of the really good reviews I actually have gotten were from women. They've written like one of the ones the one woman wrote was like so long on Google. It was, it's very impressive, very good review. But I love the in-depth, detailed reviews instead of just the 5 stars, right? So, because then you see the 5 stars, and some people think like, oh, it must be a fake review or something,
Fake
right?
review, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, well, I know who that is, so I'll usually respond saying, thanks, Dave, for trusting us to do your Subaru or something, right? So
Yeah.
that people realize like it's not a fake review, just it's somebody who doesn't want to write a review, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I do like getting the things, and it's actually quite interesting. Interesting story is a year and a half ago, I had a lady who basically changed my whole business and everything that I had to do. So what she actually did was she contacted me and said, I like supporting local business. The problem is I can't find your Google reviews. And so I'm explaining to her, and I had like 10 Google reviews at the time. And so we're talking a year and a half ago. I have 142 right now. Right.
Awesome.
And so this lady said, I'm literally telling her, well, you have to go to Google Maps. And then what you have to do is you have to look up Safe Drive Solutions. And then when you from there, you find the reviews. And then she's like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know. She calls me again saying, it was pretty hard to find. And I'm like, man, I just got to find a way to do this easier because too many people are asking for this. And she's like, if it was easier and like on your website, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I added it to my website, and my whole business changed very
Awesome.
quickly overnight from listening to feedback from customers who just happened to be a female by
Yeah.
chance, right? But that's the thing, right? You got to listen to your consumers, right? If they're speaking to you. And I mean, at the same time, it's great to have a female giving you feedback on your business and letting you know, like, hey, it's hard to find this. So how can you make it easier?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not by chance, it's because women care more. Not to say that men don't care, because there's a lot of really caring men in the world, and we all have a heart and we all have empathy. But women care deeply, and that's part of the limbic system. It's part of her emotional memory hub of her brain. And so she wanted to actually see you succeed. So she was willing to jump through the hoops to help you get there. And whereas, you know, from a male perspective, if it is that hard, they're just not even going to bother trying. They're just going to, you know, move on to the next thing. So yes, by chance it's a woman, but I can promise you most men wouldn't have taken that time to help you get there either.
So equality is a hot topic these days.
Uh-huh.
And why is it important to create a culture women can thrive in?
See, I believe, you know, God put us on this earth, man and woman, Adam and Eve, because with different strengths and weaknesses, and we complement each other. And so equality is extremely important because we work really well together. I mean, men have been able to succeed obviously on their own, so have women, but we are meant to be, you know, working side by side with the different strengths and weaknesses we have, because our strengths are men's weaknesses and their strengths are our weaknesses. So putting an effort into diversity and equality in the workplace, one, will only make you successful. Two, more women in the workplace will help open your eyes to an experience that the world's most influential consumer wants. And three, I believe that if women don't want to work with you, they are not going to want to shop with you, because women want to do business with companies they can see themselves in. So especially in the automotive space, if a woman's coming in, whether it's the service drive or in to purchase a new vehicle, seeing another woman immediately kind of puts those walls down, and her back isn't so up against the wall saying, oh, I'm going to get a really crappy experience. It's important for her. People do business with people, not companies. And so it's important for her to see herself in that business.
It's very true in the automotive space, because
Yes.
there's a lot of sales guys that I've seen that their customers follow them wherever they go. It doesn't matter where they're working, they are followed. And that's the whole thing of building a business, building like a reputation of having like raving fans of people that are going to follow you no matter where you go. Right.
Yes.
And you know, that is very important. That's what, you know, and if you create a great customer experience and take care of them, people will follow you. And I still remember, you know, in the automotive space, I had this sales guy who spent an hour giving me a demo of every little feature on the vehicle when I came and picked it up. But there's still, you know, in the automotive space, there's not a lot of women working in sales, right?
No.
But in the service industry, there's a lot of women actually who work in the service industry.
Yeah, so service advisors, they're definitely females are starting to pop up a lot more. They're these organizations, these OEMs, the dealerships, the independents are realizing that so women make over 70% of all the service decisions for the vehicle. They're the ones that are setting the appointments. They're the ones that are bringing the vehicle in. They're the ones saying yay or nay. And so putting a woman up front to connect with that female is very smart, and is starting to trickle into the industry for sure. You'll also find a ton of women in BDC. You won't really find a gentleman in the BDC in order to take those calls and set those appointments. So women are starting to infiltrate the fixed ops, the aftermarket. But when it comes to the front line, when it comes to sales, it's still predominantly men. Like over 80% are still men.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, I wonder, I mean, so I come from an aftermarket automotive industry. And I mean, we've gotten women from time to time that have come in and worked for us. And what I think is the problem is not the actual woman coming to work for us. What I think the problem is the industry itself that I came from had really bad training practices.
Yeah.
Right. So to get that woman or any new employee, it wasn't even like the woman, it
Yeah,
was
I
any new
agree.
employee was a lot harder. But if you were already naturally into cars, woman or man, you typically thrived just because you were already interested in the cars.
Mhm.
But if you were there kind of more for a job and that workplace culture, a lot of people didn't stick around because there wasn't good training and there really wasn't like a good culture. And I'll be honest, like looking back at everything, a lot of places I worked, I don't think had that amazing of culture at all, if any, right?
Well, in the auto space right now, culture is the buzzword. I mean, I have a lot of friends in the auto space. I do a lot of work in that space, and right now, culture they're making a shift from the CX, the customer experience, which I don't think they should shift from because they still haven't gotten it right. But but maybe it starts from within, and so they're focusing on culture and they're focusing on creating that diversity. And so it is a big deal to, first of all, even attract a diverse group of employees, and then to train them and then to retain them are two totally, or like it's completely different, but they're each step of the way. It is something that dealerships and anyone in the automotive space, whether it's aftermarket or in an OEM or OEM dealership, or within a second, like a used dealership or independent, learning how to attract, train, and retain your people is extremely important. And that shift is starting to happen. They're starting to pay attention to it, which is ultimately going to affect the experience that she receives or that any customer receives, because your happiest customer is only as happy as your happiest employee. So I'm excited for that shift, and I've been seeing and hearing a lot about it.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see what you're talking about because a lot of people, a lot of companies might bring people in and train you, but then they won't give you any further training a year down the road, 2 years down the road. So you're not building them or showing them you have any interest in their future within the company.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, you were hired to be, a service consultant, and we have no interest in you ever being a service manager or in you ever getting into sales or cross training you into other departments.
Yeah.
Right. So that if a sales guy doesn't show up one day, maybe you can go help if service is slow. Right. And, you have all these different, like I don't run an automotive dealership. Right. But I'm more in aftermarket space. But that's the whole thing is, you know, that's why employees don't stick around. So you've gotten them in, you've hired them,
Mhm.
and maybe you got the mission, vision, values hanging on the wall, but you don't live by them at
Yeah.
all,
Hmm.
right? Which is another very common thing, and that's the big thing too, right? And I like my wife and I have been having lots of talks about how we need to have family values,
Yeah.
right? So that we're spreading that to our kids and we're saying these are our values so that when they do something wrong, we can say, does that represent our family
Yeah.
values?
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, it's funny because over the last month, she's starting to like have conversations with me again, saying, now I see why you were pushing me over a year ago to like, we need to have family values, right? Like I see where you're going with it because what you're doing with your business and, trying to make all your decisions based on your company values, right?
For sure. Values are so important, and really disappointment is expectations not met. So if you hire these folks, and you promise the world and you promise you've got your mission, vision statement and your values hanging on the wall, and then you don't deliver on them, what you're doing is creating disappointed employees. And right now there's a labor shortage. So it's not hard for them to go find another job down the street. So it's really important that companies in general get their act in place, where they're actually going to deliver on the promises they made to these employees that are hired.
Yeah, no. And to talk also about retention, that was something that when I was working for somebody else, I was actually very good with. I would have people 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. years working under me, which was great. It felt good to have people working for me that long. And, but at the same time, you're creating that culture. And it was funny, the episode that actually aired today, the of who I interviewed, this lady actually called me a cultured guardian because I would go
Oh,
into
that's cool.
places. She said, because I
Yeah.
would go into places that had no culture, and I was always creating a culture so the employees stuck around,
Uh-huh.
right?
That's key for sure.
So
And you have to guard that. You have to, it has to be important, and it has to be something that you work at every single day, because if you don't, then as I said, there's a labor shortage. They're not going to stick around. They're going to go find some other place that feels better to work at, especially women. So bringing it all back to, the female consumer or the
yep.
female employee, she needs to feel good about where she is, far more so than a gentleman. So it is really important that that culture, A, exists, and B, you actually live it. You live up to the expectations you've set.
Yeah, no, in which, you need to make sure you have a clean environment, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like can't be dirty. Like, you walk into a lot of these automotive shops that are like completely dirty, filthy, and everything. That's not welcome and inviting. Like,
No.
not at all, right? So, um, so okay, where are we at here? So does a custom her experience differ from a regular customer experience?
Yeah, so the easiest way to answer that question is, I always say you want to cast your experience net wide enough so that you capture her attention. Um, I also, in being in customer experience for pretty much the majority of my career, the last like 15, 16 years, and designing experiences, if you don't have a foundational experience, a journey map with brand standards for your customers, I mean, it's going to be a sure fail if you try to just appease to her. You definitely need your standards. You need to know what you stand for. You need to create that brand experience. You need to train your team. What differs between a regular experience and an experience for her that she wants to partake in or experience over and over again or refer is understanding her as a human first and a customer second. And so understanding her needs, her fears at every touch point. So you've already created this experience, you have your journey map, you have your brand standards. Now let's elevate that. Let's level up your experience and take a look at what she needs. You talked about cleanliness and you talk about an environment. Well, she wants a hedonic experience, which is an experience of the senses. So how warm it is, what it smells like, what it looks like. If the coffee looks stale and old or is dirty, the coffee pot is dirty. What the fluorescent lights in the bathroom, all those things matter to her. Whereas a gentleman wants a utilitarian experience, very in out. I came here for A, I'm going to leave with A, and I'm going to do it as quickly and frictionlessly as possible. Where she wants to enjoy the whole journey. So, yes, it differs because she looks for different things and she needs to feel good about it. So, the way you communicate with her, the relationship you building a genuine relationship is extremely important. Taking the time to understand her and evolving the relationship with her is extremely important. It's important to build that trust with her, because if you don't, then she's not going to refer you. And women refer 33% more than men do. So if you want to fill your future funnel, you have to create an experience that she can't live without.
Which is very true. Create raving fans, create people that are
Exactly.
going
You got
to
it.
follow you, create, some people like to say create disciples, right? So
Mhm.
that are going to talk about you to all their friends naturally. Like
Exactly.
recently I had someone tell me that, when a customer gives a referral, you should send them a gift card for like $30. I'm like, well, I said, I'm not really for doing that kind of business, because then what happens when I kill that program? Then those people are going to be upset. I would rather just give everybody a really good customer experience. And if they want to tell all of their friends about it, then that's great. That's something that I can keep consistent, is by giving them a good customer experience all the time.
Well, there's the key word, though, is consistent, right? Like, so I believe we have a zero balance trust account with every one of our customers, man or woman. And so it's up to us to create that consistent experience and put positive deposits into that trust account, because we are human. We will drop the ball. We're not robots. We have stuff going on in our life. We might have a busy day, something happens and the experience goes sideways. But if you have enough trust deposits from previous consistent experiences, you still have a chance to keep that customer. Where if you don't create that consistency and you do drop the ball, you're going to go into overdraft. And then going into overdraft, I mean, good luck getting them to walk back in that door.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I see you also do some public speaking.
I do.
So I mean, I see here it says the power of her, transform your brand experience to captivate the world's most influential consumer. So what is some of the things that you do talk about?
Yeah, so I have three key topics that I focus on when I do some keynote speaking. The power of her is really diving down, and I really explain the physiological differences between men and women and why it's so important to businesses to elevate the experience they provide her. So I break down as I said, the physiological differences. I break down the different experiences that they want and need. I loop in some funny stories and some personal experiences as well. And then I allow them and I tell them the 5 different ways that they can actually level up their experience. I do also speak about fee plus male culture. So creating a culture of diversity where both men and women work together. And there are certain things that women are attracted to in terms of a company attracting, hiring, and retaining female employees. And so I break down ways that organizations can create a better culture from start to finish, from attracting them through job ads and job descriptions all the way through retention. And then my last one is 5 steps to a 5-star experience. So I have worked with some of the best organizations in the world. I have designed some experience for some of the most influential organizations in the world that actually help curve our expectations of what an experience is. And I have worked alongside Forbes Travel Guide. And I've taken everything I've learned through the years and really dwindled it down to the 5 things that your company can do sort of tomorrow that will help you create a 5-star experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So how is it that people would get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, there's lots of ways. You can Google me and I'll pop up. But you can DM me on Instagram at Katie Maris, Katie Maris on Facebook. My email is katie@katiemaris.com. So it's super easy to remember. Or my website is katiemaris.com.
Yeah, nice. It's awesome. Do you have any final words of wisdom or anything for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's don't take one bite of the elephant at a time and don't get overwhelmed. Start somewhere. Find one thing you want to work on for the next 90 days and be persistent with it in order to elevate your experience. And honestly, go order my book because it's all right here. It'll really help you understand her, and it will outline the ways you can elevate that experience to capture her heart and her mind and her pocket.
Can they get that like on Amazon or?
Yeah, anywhere books are sold. So Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It is out today, Valentine's Day. So what a great day to put a book on women out there in the world. But yes, Amazon.com, CustomHER experience, and it'll pop up.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming on the show today. This was great. And I'll make sure to put all the links and everything in the show notes as well for anybody who does want to get a hold of Katie as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.